A comparison between Islam, Christianity and Judaism and the choice between them Part 20. And from the enemies of Islam, we often find this question being posed. Islamic law orders the cutting of the hand of the thief and the stoning of the adulterer. Are these punishment not harsh and tough? Before explaining the Islamic position, one should understand that whoever believes in Allah as his Lord, Muhammad as his messenger and Islam as his religion submits himself completely to the will of Allah. He does not question aspects of the religion that have been rigorously authenticated as being absolutely true and authentic, regardless of what that issue refers to punishments or an act of worship. To clarify, who is the thief who is eligible for this punishment? In an Islamic state, every individual is entitled to social security collected from various sources, including the obligatory collection of the alms tax, and the basic needs of all citizens are adequately met. Because according to a saying of the Prophet, every son of Adam is entitled to food, clothing and shelter. It is only after the state discharges its own duty that it can impose the penalty on a thief who selfishly intrudes on the rights of others despite being provided with all the basic amenities of life. Hence, if a citizen is forced by circumstances, e.g. poverty, the society will be considered at fault and no penal punishment will be given to the accused. It was in this light that the second Caliph Umar, who was well known for his strict rigidity in enforcing the rules of Islamic law, waived the cutting off the hand for theft during a period of famine. Even with that restrictive definition of theft, all elements of the crime must be committed by one person, and all the definitional elements of theft must be there, such as the following. 1. It is committed intentionally by a sane and mature person who is not driven by force of circumstances, e.g. poverty. 2. The property must lawfully belong to another and have some value. That the value of the stolen property reaches a minimum value of 3 or 10 dirhams, and the property must have been taken from a sufficiently safe place or proximity suitable for the safety of the object. And 3. The act of stealing must be attested by at least 2 witnesses who physically saw the crime being committed. By looking at the socio-economic and legal contexts of the amputation of hand for theft, the deterrent nature of the punishment for theft could be better appreciated. In one sense, it could be said that the amputation of hand is the maximum penalty for theft because all the definitional elements of the crime has to be satisfied, and even when it is carried out it is done humanely, and amputation in an actual Islamic state with an Islamic penal system is extremely rare. As for the stoning of the adulterer, despite all the lawful channels provided, if a person transgresses the limits beyond all bounds of decency to commit adultery in public, then Islam provides severe chastisement to safeguard the family and to save society from corruption and destruction, and the punishment acts as a strong deterrent to others. For fornication between unmarried couples the penalty is 100 lashes, and for adultery between married couples the penalty is stoning to death. Even then the legal punishment is not prescribed for the mere commission of adultery, but other definitional elements of the crime has to be satisfied. Only that kind of adultery is punishable by stoning which is committed intentionally by a free person who is both mature and sane. The accused must be committed to a marriage and has had intercourse with his lawful spouse. The accused must have committed adultery voluntarily without compulsion, and the act of adultery must be attested by 4 honest, reliable and trustworthy witnesses who must have all seen the act of penetration, and all 4 witnesses must be unanimous in every stage of the act including minute details. If statement of one witness is contradictory to the others, then all 4 witnesses will be given the penal punishment of 80 stripes for slander. Such is the strict legal technicalities that has to be understood before the punishment of stoning is carried out on adulterers, and these facts are not highlighted by the West when condemning the punishments for adultery. All the above-mentioned conditions have to be met before the punishment is imposed, which is very hard to do. Especially the question of witnesses is the most difficult aspect of all, the necessity of a minimum of 4 witnesses, as opposed to other punishment offences where 2 are sufficient. Who must be devout. The testimony of a person who lies or breaks any of the major prohibitions of Islam is inadmissible. The unanimous description of the act of penetration and other minute details by all 4 witnesses, and the fear of receiving the punishment penalty for slander on the part of witnesses greatly reduce the chance of conviction for the adulterers, as the required evidence is so strong and complete as to be practically impossible to obtain. That is why during the life of the Prophet, it was not possible to prove one single case of adultery, and during 1,400 years of the Muslim era only 14 cases of adultery have been recorded. Hence, punishment by stoning has remained what it always was, harsh in principle, but extremely rare in practice. Islam does not want for these crimes to become prevalent in Islamic societies and so legislated these punishments to be meted out when and where applicable. It also ordered that a group from among the believers watch it for admonition. It is with the interest of the majority, both the individual and wider society, that these punishments were sanctioned for. It is noticeable in countries where the punishments are given are counties where the crimes in question are low compared with countries who live under the shade of Islam. It is with great envy that the enemies of Islam and its legal system attack it, because of what they see in terms of the peace, safety and security that result in its application. So it is incumbent upon every Muslim to seek to rule by the commandments of Allah and live according to them. And so at the end of this section, we have uncovered the many plots the disbelievers use to ruin the image of Islam by misinterpreting the meaning of passages or giving their own interpretation. They prey on the weakest Muslims who are usually unaware and ignorant of their own religion to sow the seed of doubt. One should always be aware that in the face of these misconceptions, Muslims should always refer back to our scholars who have spent their lives learning and teaching this great religion. Scholars who fear not the blame of the blamers. It is also incumbent upon all the objective people who are genuinely looking for the truth that they are look to Islam for the answers. Especially as we have shown the conniving nature of Islam's detractors. To end with, I ask Allah the Lord of the world to guide all truth seeker of the truth to the right path, and that he exposes the plots of the slanderers of Islam. In conclusion, Islam in its clarity and ease of understanding is one of the most attractive elements of it as a religion, especially when comparing it with Judaism and Christianity and the confusion and contradiction that are found therein. It is a religion that can be understood and appreciated by people of all levels and backgrounds, educated or otherwise. As such, we are certain that there is no guidance except in the religion of the Prophet Muhammad, who was foretold in the Torah, the Gospels and the books of old. True guidance is only to be found in the religion he came with, Islam. Their only salvation is in following this faithful messenger, Muhammad, and adhering to the path he and his noble companions were upon, by following his example and holding fast to his Sunnah. Islam is the religion of Allah, mighty and majestic. There will be no other message or prophecy after the message of the Prophet Muhammad. For that reason, our Lord, blessed and exalted, took it upon himself to preserve his book, the Holy Quran, which he sent down upon the seal of prophets and messengers, Muhammad, and therefore his religion, Islam. It is the religion that he selected for humanity, and was pleased with, and whosoever choose other than it as a path to Allah will ultimately be of the losers. As Allah said in the Quran 85, and whoever seeks a religion other than Islam, it will never be accepted of him, and in the hereafter he will be one of the losers. The family of Imran 85. Allah said in the Quran 85, and whoever seeks a religion other than Islam, it will never be accepted of him, and in the hereafter he will be one of the losers. The family of Imran 85. A message. In conclusion, after all of this discussion, in order to complete the benefit, the points are in the following order. 1. That Islam is a religion is simple in its explanation and easily understandable, and far away from any of the associations of the deviant sect that tend to appear from time to time. This means a Muslim should keep away from these deviant groups and be aware of what they call to. Yet at the same time one should seek to follow the footsteps of the Prophet Muhammad and his companions. All of these sects are upon falsehood except the one that holds firm to the Sunnah or way and methodology of the Prophet. So one should emulate the Prophet and his companions, starting with Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman and Ali and all those who followed them in belief. This is because the Prophet said, "The best of my nation is my generation," Bukhari. This means the best of all humans after the prophets are the companions of the Prophet Muhammad. It is from this that we get the word Salafiyya, which is not a partisan organization or a group. Rather it is a methodology based upon the understanding of those companions who were contemporaries of him, and inherited the correct understanding from him. This is to ensure one does not fall into innovation. 2. That the Muslim, it is incumbent upon him that he should, along with ensuring the purity of his creed, he should do righteous deeds, teach this religion's orders and prohibitions. Allah said, 1. By Allah's, the time. 2. Verily, man is in loss. 3. Except those who believe in Islamic monotheism, and do righteous good deeds, and recommend one another to the truth, i.e. order one another to perform all kinds of good deeds, al-ma'ruf, which Allah has ordained, and abstain from all kinds of sins and evil deeds, al-munkar, which Allah has forbidden, and recommend one another to patience, for the sufferings, harms, and injuries which one may encounter in Allah's cause during preaching his religion. So it is clear that belief is twinned with acting upon righteousness and calling to good and teaching it. It also is important to note that if a group among the Muslims does not apply the rules of Islam, Islam should not be looked at negatively because of their shortcomings. Islam should be judged according to its teachings and according to its real adherers. 3. That a person should not seek honor except in the religion of Islam. As if one sought honor from Islam, Allah will honor him, as for if one sought honor in other than Islam, Allah will humiliate him. A proof of this is the Arabs of Arabia, who were disparate, warring tribes, without king, ruler, or chief, but after the arrival of this prophet, the seal, Muhammad, Allah, mighty and majestic, brought their hearts together and united them under the leadership of his prophet, Muhammad, in whose message they believed and had faith. Thus they became a great nation and the most honorable people, extending north and south, east and west, by the bounty and victory of Allah, mighty and majestic. 4. That a Muslim should only ally himself with the believers, giving them victory in truth and stopping them from any wrongdoing. Yet at the same time be free from other than the Muslims without oppressing of harming them. 5. A Muslim should give thanks to Allah for the greatest of blessing that he bestowed upon us, Islam. And a thanksgiving for Islam is by applying it, sticking to its teaching and ruling by its laws. Emphasizing on the last point of ruling by his law, a Muslim seeks to establish the law of Allah on the earth and live under its shade, and is never satisfied by other than what Allah ruled. As it is not what Allah wanted or was pleased with. This is because Islam is the creator, the legislator, and the one who rewards. None is satisfied with other than Allah's law except a hypocrite. In the application of Allah's laws do we find safety and hope, as well as happiness in this world and success in the next. Invite to it, by clarifying for all those who do not have any idea about Islam before the enemies of Islam are able to get to his ears and poison them. Teaching them what Islam brought for humankind in pure teachings and high morality, righteous deeds and upright actions. 6. That a Muslim should call to the religion of Allah using wisdom and the best admonitions, and argue with them in truth, asking Allah to make the truth manifest. 7. That it is upon every Muslim that he enjoins the good and forbids the evil. This should be done judiciously, and in this lies the betterment of this nation, as Allah says. 104. Let there arise out of you a group of people inviting to all that is good, Islam. Enjoining al-Ma'ruf, i.e. Islamic monotheism and all that Islam orders one to do, and forbidding al-Munkar, polytheism and disbelief and all that Islam has forbidden. And it is they who are the successful. Al-Imran 104. Lastly, I ask Allah, Lord of the magnificent throne, that he benefits others with these few words, and that he put the rewards on our scale of good deeds on the day of judgment. And that he uses us to give victory to his religion, and that he accepts from everyone their righteous deed. Indeed, he is the only one capable of doing it.